In this video, we'll be going through how to interpret the SPSS output after analysing a set of data using a Mann-Whitney U-test. Remember the research scenario we're working through. A researcher was interested in how long participants will spend on a task when they initially worked on a task that they succeeded or failed in. They wanted to examine whether there was a significant difference in time between participants allocated in the initial success group and participants allocated into the initial failure group. Let's now look at the SPSS output after running a Mann-Whitney U-test. Your SPSS output viewer should show these two tables associated with doing the analysis. I'll be going through this output in PowerPoint so you're able to download the annotated slides at a later time. The first table that pops up is our ranks table. Remember that our data was initially interval ratio data, but because the normality assumption was violated, we used the Mann-Whitney U-test to analyze the data set instead of an independent samples t-test. So when we selected a Mann-Whitney U-test, we gave SPSS the instruction to rank the data in the time variable. So what SPSS did was line up all the times, regardless of what group the times belonged in, and allocated ranks to each of these time points. So the lowest time would be given a ranking of 1. The second lowest time would be given a ranking of 2, and so on, until the highest time would be given the highest rank. Because of this ranking system, we can use this information to see which group had the higher rank. The group with the highest ranks is the group that had the highest persistence times. So we can see here that the mean rank was highest for the initial success group. That means that this group showed higher persistent times than the initial failure group. This table will only show you the direction of the difference. So in other words, it'll just tell you which group was higher or lower than the other one. But it won't actually tell you whether this difference between the two groups was significantly different. That's what the next table will tell us. This test statistic table will tell us whether the difference in mean ranks between the initial success and failure group is statistically significantly different. The two important values here are the Mann-Whitney U value and the exact sig value. The Mann-Whitney U test value is your test statistic. You will need to report this when you're writing up your results. The second value in the row exact sig, that's your p-value. We can see here that our p-value is 0.007. This is less than 0.05, so we can actually say that the difference in mean ranks between the initial failure and initial success group is statistically significantly different. So when we interpret both the ranks and test statistic table, we're able to get two pieces of information. Firstly, from the ranks table, that the initial success group persisted on the task for longer because they had a higher mean rank than the initial failure group. The second key piece of information is from the test statistic table, and that is that the difference in persistence time between the two groups was statistically significantly different. The last calculation we need to do is the effect size to determine how large this difference was. So the equation is as shown. It's Z divided by the square root of n. We can get these two values from the test statistic and ranks table. The Z value we can take from our test statistic table, and this value is negative 2.577. Our n value is the total number of participants, and this can be taken from our ranks table. This value is 16. When we substitute these numbers into the equation, we'll get an R value of negative 0.64. This is considered to be a large effect. So remember, when we're reporting effect size, we take the absolute value. We'll ignore the negative value and report it as 0.64. The last thing we need to do after every analysis is to report our results. With reports, we always begin by stating the type of test we used and the alpha level. We need to state the independent variable and the dependent variable. With a non-parametric test like the Mann-Whitney U test, we don't need to make any statements about assumption testing. We actually go straight to what the test revealed. You do this by stating the direction of the effect. So in this case, the participants who initially succeeded persisted longer. You need to state whether this difference was significant or not significant, and report the descriptive statistics associated with each group. So this is the mean rank and the N value. You follow this with the U statistic, your p-value, and whether the test was one or two-tailed. Finally, you end with a statement about the effect size, and because the results were significant, you'd interpret the size of the effect as either being small, medium, or large. So in this case, it was a large difference. This now concludes the video on how to interpret the SPSS output of a Mann-Whitney U test.